Aaron Rodgers, even at 41 years old, is the Pittsburgh Steelers' best option and their best quarterback since prime Ben Roethlisberger. We'll discuss that and more here on Locked On NFL.
The barbershop is open and Tony Wiggins has a chair for you. He's ready with some real NFL talk. The local experts of Locked On bring their expertise, and Wiggy is ready with his clippers and shears. Sit down and enjoy. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Man, is it your team every day? That's right. That's exactly what it is. We thank you for making us your first listen here in the barbershop on Locked On NFL. Hey, man, we're going to go around the league and give you some of the biggest stories from our perspective in the National Football League. David Harrison, of course, as always, joins me here on Hump Day here on Locked On NFL. Got a lot to discuss. Make sure you tap in wherever you get your podcast, whether you watch or listen at that location. We will be there. We're free to subscribe to as well. Shout out to the everydayers for joining us here every single day on Locked On NFL. You can do the same. All you got to do is just hang out, and hopefully I'll give you a reason to come back. Here's the deal today. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Make sure you tap in for the NBA Finals on FanDuel. All right, here's what we're going to do. By the end of this show, David and I are going to talk about Dallas. Michael Parsons wants his money. I think Michael Parsons should get everything he wants. The Bengals gonna bingle. What does that mean? Well, we'll explain it to you. This is what the Bengals always do. And then Aaron Rodgers, he actually looks happy, and that's where I want to start today, David, talking about Aaron Rodgers. I was a little bit surprised yesterday. Now, granted, my heart always wants to see a story end, in a good way. I'm just a sap like that. But I kind of saw Aaron Rodgers running around. Looked like he had a little bit of a new lease on life yesterday. I got to admit, it just felt a little bit. I'm like, okay, I'm going to give him a chance.
Yeah. Look, Aaron Rodgers is not an untalented quarterback, right? I think if we're all being honest, like the issue with Aaron Rodgers today is his personality. You know what I mean? But the only way the personality affects what happens on the field is how it resonates with his teammates. Clearly, things didn't resonate as well in New York as some people thought that it would. So how is it going to resonate in Pittsburgh? It's a different locker room. Aaron is a new man. We all learn from our experiences. So what did Aaron learn in New York that he's going to bring over to Pittsburgh? Because Mike Tomlin is not a rollover, kind of coach. Like this isn't a situation. And I know it's a little bit weird to say this because like Aaron Rodgers basically dictated when he's going to come in. Like the Steelers, pretty deliberately waited to take a quarterback until late in the NFL draft. And everybody, it was like, oh, maybe, we'll see what happens. Like everybody knew Aaron Rodgers was going to Pittsburgh. But so there's a little bit of already like Aaron kind of dictated the flow for the Steelers. But you notice the difference. There's not a whole lot of Aaron Rodgers buddies coming in. There's not a whole lot of feeling that like he's taking over this organization. He's now working for a team, which is exactly what he should be doing. So things are going to be different. But I'll be honest with you, Wig. When I saw this man wearing arguably the most contrasting wedding ring color he could possibly wear, I was like, bro, this dude, you just got to show up looking for some attention. You just got to show up. Oh, this thing that you can see more clearly than anything because how much it contrasts with my skin tone. This thing, this little thing. You want to ask me about that? Come on, bro. And you know what? And honestly, that is more on me. And that's what I'm talking about. That's more on me and where this narrative with Aaron Rodgers has gone. Because I'm not the only one whose head went there. Because we're so wrapped up in his personality that any little thing he does. Because truthfully, like black is the Pittsburgh Steelers color, right? Yeah. So truthfully, you can just be like, I'm Pittsburgh Steeler. I'm going to wear a black wedding ring. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So honestly, like that's just kind of where the narrative is gone. So if we take away that pettiness, because that's what that is petty. If we take away that pettiness, yeah, like there's a chance that Aaron Rodgers can do well in Pittsburgh, of course.
No doubt about it. Let's listen to Locked On Steelers. Well, actually, this is not Locked On Steelers. This is Matt Williamson, who's also in the building with the Pittsburgh Steelers organization. And of course, Matt Williamson, Peacock and Williamson podcast, and then our Friday host here on Locked On NFL. Check him out. Him and Brian Peacock, what they had to say about Aaron Rodgers.
Even in his 40s, it's a better look now as I'm paraphrasing you from just a few minutes ago, this is the best quarterback situation that the Steelers have had since Ben Roethlisberger was good.
Right.
Yeah. And probably better than late career Ben Roethlisberger.
I think so.
Yeah,
I'm expecting that.
Yeah.
And they've won a lot of games with these crappy quarterbacks in between,
Right.
Not enough. But
if you take a 500 team, but the Jets thought the same thing. The Jets thought they had a defense they're going to plug in this Hall of Fame quarterback. Now, one year was a torn Achilles on the first play, and then the next year it just didn't quite work out for them. So I ask you, what's the expectations for the Steelers, and why would it work out better this year, a year older for Aaron Rodgers than it did last year in New York?
Yeah. Matt Williamson, you want that answer, make sure you go over and check out the Peacock and Williamson podcast. Look, I ain't going to trip about people with unconventional wedding bands. I was a barber, right? And when I got with my wife, I was like 16 years into my career. And one thing I told her, I said, yeah, we'll wear the wedding ring, but when I cut hair, which is 10 hours a day at the time, I said, I got to take it off because my fingers swell. And she's like, well, guess what? We're gonna get you a tattoo. We ain't gonna let your fingers swell up in the barbershop, so I ain't gonna get on him too bad about that. But what I will say is this: there's a missing component here that I think everybody, we're all giving one person a pass. It ain't Mike Tomlin, it ain't Pittsburgh, it ain't even Aaron Rodgers by us giving him this kind of grace. It's Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith has been terrible at offense for like years, right? I mean, in Atlanta, we were wondering, where's the tight end? Where's the wide receiver? Where's this running back they keep picking in the top 10? Then he goes up there last year, and because it's two people that we have criticized, Arthur Smith and Russell Wilson, it's easy to just blame everything on Russell Wilson. But I'm going back to Arthur Smith, who just didn't seem like he used all of those weapons that he had in Atlanta. When he was in Tennessee, his offense was pretty much just give the ball to Derrick Henry and get out of the way. So Arthur Smith is a key component to this, and a lot of people are just letting him slide.
Oh, yeah. I mean, coaching absolutely matters, right? I mean, and decision-making is something to do with this. Like, for all that hate that Russell Wilson gets, and don't get me wrong, I'm not going to try to sit here and tell you that Russell Wilson's like a top 10 quarterback in the league today, but I had this conversation when he was leaving Denver and he was a free agent, before the 2024 season. I mean, this man threw for, over 3,000 yards, only threw 8 interceptions, 26 touchdowns in his last season with the Denver Broncos. And everybody's talking about how, well, if the Denver Broncos get rid of Russell Wilson, they'll be a great team. Like, he's the one holding them back. This man who protects the football, makes smart decisions, is the one who is holding the team back. And last year for the Pittsburgh Steelers, 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Like, Russell Wilson, for everything he's not, I don't think he's a guy that can like elevate a team anymore, right? But he's certainly not going to hold a team back. Aaron Rodgers at multiple times last year held the New York Jets back. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I will agree with the sentiment that this is the best quarterback the Pittsburgh Steelers have had starting for their team since good, quote unquote, Ben Roethlisberger. But look at that list: Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, Mitch Trubisky, and Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Yes, I would say the only contender would be Russell Wilson. Justin Fields, because he didn't really get the opportunity. I mean, he started, 6 games, but he didn't really get the full opportunity to be a quote unquote starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the only name on that list that could even contend is Russell Wilson. So it's a very low bar to cross if you're talking about, is this the best starting quarterback since Ben Roethlisberger for the Pittsburgh Steelers? It's not like they went out and drafted Caleb Williams, and now you're asking that question, right? Like, I mean, so the narrative is accurate. Obviously, the chances are going to be that he's successful are certainly there, but I would say that the Jets had a better run offense than the Steelers look to have right now. DK Metcalf is good, but so is Garrett Wilson. They brought in Devontae Adams. Like, I mean, look, I think there's equal parts opportunity that this goes just as poorly for the Jets or for the Steelers as it did with the Jets. But the good news is the Jets brought Aaron Rodgers onto a 7-win roster. I know everybody was like, that defense is great, but it's a 7-win roster. The Steelers are bringing him onto a 10-win roster.
No doubt.
A little bit different.
Yeah, it is definitely a little bit different. I tell you what, we talk about different, and then we talk about things that remain the same. And the Bengals are going to bingle. That is something that remains the same. We will discuss them and their shenanigans here in just a second on Locked On NFL. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never a better time to get in on the action. Which players you think are going to show up in the biggest moments? I think Tyrese Halliburton is going to have something to say here in Game 3 because he kind of disappeared in Game 2. We'll just have to see. Well, if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, rolling along here with my man David Harrison, my brother from another mother. We are sitting here talking about the NFL, all of the big stories around the NFL, and leave it up to us. Don't think we ain't gonna have a good time if you offer it to us. And anytime you offer up the Bengals and their foolishness, they had a rookie yesterday say he had the greatest line of all. And I said David Harrison would be proud of him talking about Cincinnati like that. Shamar Stewart said the Bengals want to win arguments more than they want to win games. I was like, woo, this boy dropping barbershop heat out here for us. And while you're sitting there talking about the Bengals and what they don't do, what they do have is a pretty good offense. And PFF doesn't, I think it was PFF, they don't think so too much. And we even talked about it last week that they're really, really, the Bengals are, the positions where they're really good, they're really good. But then the other ones where they're not so good, they're not so good. Listen to the guys on Locked On Bengals talk about the fact they feel a little disrespected about where they're ranked.
Do the Cincinnati Bengals suddenly have a bottom half of the NFL roster? I'm not quite buying it. PFF sees it as the Bengals roster has fallen off precipitously from 2024 when they had the Bengals ranked as the 7th best roster in the league. Now they see it as 18th best. And
I know why PFF did it. They're going to say all of these ifs and questions, and there are ifs and questions. And both of us, I think, have been very clear about our frustration with what the Bengals haven't done this offseason to address specific areas. And even with that said, they still have a chance to be really, really, really good because of those top players that they have on their roster.
I'm not a hater. I ain't dissing on nobody, but y'all want to know how these players are ranked. You need to check out Locked On NFL. Locked On NFL. We daily, man. We're right here. We got our finger on the pulse of all of these teams. And I'll tell you what probably happened is whoever said that they were 7th last year, they had those glasses on that all they saw was those shiny parts. They didn't look in the trenches. They didn't look in these other places. They didn't look at all of the attrition that they've had on defense, though. So they just should have never been ranked 7th. Ain't nothing wrong with where they're ranked right now. This is probably where they should have been ranked last year.
I mean, look, when you have as much roster turmoil going on, I mean, your best pass rusher is clearly not going to play on his current contract. You drafted a guy that, some said maybe it's to replace him. Maybe it's not to replace him. Maybe it's to just add to him, whatever it is. And he's not on the field. And, I know some people were surprised by them releasing linebacker Jermaine Pratt, but I don't know why they're like, if you've been studying this Bengals situation, if they have any hope of paying Trey Hendrickson, they basically had to release Jermaine Pratt. So it's you're kind of cutting off your nose to spite your face type of thing. Like, that Bengals defense is a mess, man, and is not getting any better. And as of right now, and look, it's still early. Like, it's way too early to be counting anybody out or anything like that. But as of right now, arguably your 2 best pass rushers are not on the field getting ready for the season. So.
No, and they're critical to the success of your team. Look, this is about messaging. All the Bengals got to do is say is this, and it's not going to excuse them because what they did was something they probably shouldn't have done that we all understand, which is pay both wide receivers who are coming off a rookie deal. But they probably shouldn't have done it. But look, when you do that, it's going to restrict you in some other areas. You're pouring a lot of money and allocating a lot of money to one position, and teams usually don't do that. For instance, right now, the Philadelphia Eagles, they got both receivers and their running back, quarterback, and every offensive lineman is ranked in the top 5 or 6 of their positions. But guess what? They also have a whole bunch of rookies on defense that are playing really, really well at every single position, at every single level. And therefore, they have room to do that. And they win every year. And they have a good player development, bro.
Exactly. And they know who their guys are. They know who fits their program, right? We talked about, like, the Bengals for all the criticism we want to give them, they have spent a very good amount of draft capital on their defense, trying to basically put in a system where we're going to pay our offense, we're going to draft our defense. They've tried to do that's what the Eagles do. They've tried to do that. They're just not drafting the right players. They're not bringing in the right players. The players that they're bringing in are not working out. They're not playing up to elite levels. They're not developing, like you just said. And so it's a simple situation of you clearly, whether it's in the scouting department, the GM, wherever there's a kink in the hose somewhere, whatever it is, is not letting the players you need get through, and instead you're getting the aftertaste and all that stuff. But look, I mean, first of all, it's wild to me anyway that the Bengals are doing to Shamar Stewart what they're trying to do. They're trying to avoid this man's guaranteed money towards the end of his rookie deal. The rookies are already limited in what they can ask for, what they can negotiate for by the rookie pay scale. So pay these men. Like this rookie contract is the least amount of money a lot of these guys are hoping to make in their entire careers, and you want to ask them before they've even stepped on the field. I mean, if that's not the worst message to send to a rookie, especially a first-round pick, like you're going to say, welcome to the club, welcome to the NFL. We have all the faith in the world in you, but we don't want to have all your money guaranteed just in case you suck.
Yeah.
Like what kind of message are you sending to this organization?
You're hedging your bets. You're hedging your bets with the dude that you picked in the
money
first
don't
round. You could have picked anybody you wanted.
Trade out.
You chose it. That's right. You chose him,
Trade
and
out.
now you're sitting there trying to hedge your bets. I want to give a quick salute and a quick nod. It's not over for Nick Chubb, but Nick Chubb does represent one of those players, man, that, I sit and talk to pro athletes a lot, and it's sometimes everybody doesn't make the Hall of Fame, but there are certain players. And we're talking about the NBA Finals right now. Like Jamal Crawford ain't going to nobody's Hall of Fame. But you talk to the Hall of Famers about Jamal Crawford, and they will tell you he will cook you silly. Nick Chubb is that. So I wanted to give Nick Chubb some props. But he has a replacement in Cleveland. Talk about depending on rookies, not just quarterbacks. Listen to Spencer German talk about who he expects to have a big year.
The guy who's going to be the most impactful rookie on this roster, and that's Quinn Sean Judkins. I think Quinn Sean is going to get a chance to feast. He is going to get a chance to go out. He's going to get a chance to play a lot. He's going to be a focal point of this offense. I think he's going for 1,000 yards. I think he's going for a bunch of touchdowns. And you need a guy that can help you stay ahead of the sticks. And the Browns are going to have that with Quinn Sean Judkins.
He's tough, man. He kind of reminds me of Nick Chubb a little bit. It's like out with the old, and we appreciate you, but in with the new. Salute to Nick Chubb. But Judkins can have a pretty good, decent season for the Browns.
Oh yeah, Quinn Sean Judkins is a good young running back. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people forget. He gets lost a little bit in the mix because he's a rotating back in Ohio State in his last year and all that stuff, working with Trayvon Henderson. And I think that the NFL probably looks at that as a benefit, right? He didn't pout about it. He didn't make public statements about it. He said, "Yeah, it's a rotation back here, and we're both going to do what we need to do." So you bring him into the NFL, which most teams are now rotation heavy at running back, and you know that he's going to fit in well with a system like that. But at the same time, the last time Quinn Sean Judkins was a primary back that wasn't really rotating with anybody, he was a beast at Ole Miss, right? I mean, like, this is a talented running back. I know everybody, including myself, had Trayvon Henderson as the top Ohio State back, but even those who did, people who did, Quinn Sean Judkins wasn't that far behind him. And when Quinn Sean went first, I wasn't blown away by it. I wasn't like, oh, I can't believe that happened. And you never thought in a million years that would happen. Again, it's about fit. And the Cleveland Browns thought Quinn Sean fits what we're trying to do better than Trayvon. They absolutely went and got the right guy. If he proves Spencer correct, then, it could absolutely go well. And honestly, I like a little bit of what the Browns are doing. You know what I mean? Like, they got some young quarterbacks. They'll see if they can develop. They got some young backs because they also got Dylan Sampson out there out of Tennessee. They're not married to a whole lot of other people. And obviously Myles Garrett is going to try to help put butts in the seats. But it's also a team that is in a situation where, unfortunately for Myles Garrett, you could see them being in line for, I don't know, is Arch Manning going to come out in the 2026 NFL draft?
Yeah.
And those things, we'll see. But they have themselves in position. You have a couple young quarterbacks. You can try to figure out, do you feel like they could be your future? If not, who's available in 2026? You've got some young backs to kind of develop and hopefully keep healthy. I mean, Jerome Ford is there. I would like to see a 3-back rotation in Cleveland. Get all those guys some experience, some touches, get them their reps, but also keep them healthy.
Yeah, you gotta keep him healthy, man, because if you don't keep him healthy, then the fact that you took him in the second round at some point it's going to be null and void, because you're going to wear them out before you actually get good, and that's not what you want. It's kind of what happened to Nick Chubb a little bit too. By the way, speaking of Myles Garrett, somebody asked him what he thought about Aaron Rodgers coming to the division. He said it's a good opportunity to put him in a graveyard. Hey, don't y'all love defensive linemen and linebackers that think like that? I do. I tell you what, there's one in Dallas that thinks like that too. You're trying to get paid. I don't know what the holdup is. It's all about Michael Parsons getting his money. We'll discuss that and who else the Cowboys might be looking to move on past after this season. We'll talk about it more here on Locked On NFL. All right, Locked On NFL, going over the biggest stories from around the National Football League. And that means when we say the biggest, everything in Texas is bigger or something like that, they say. So we're going down to Big D and talking about the team that is sitting in that division that wants to challenge Washington to make sure that Philly continues to not be a team to consecutively win the NFC East title. I hope y'all kept up with that the way that I said that a little bit. But here's the thing with the Cowboys. The one thing about Dallas, they haven't won as much as you would think they have, considering the perception of the team, but they picked some good players. I thought they picked some more good players in the draft this year. Listen to the guys at Locked On Cowboys talk about whose future might be diminishing here with the boys in Big D.
So start with Trayvon Diggs. We've talked about Trayvon over the last couple of weeks, but it sure seems like, given his contract situation, his health situation, Landon, and kind of some of the stuff off the field when it comes to maybe not rehabbing as hard as he needs to be, this could potentially be it for Trayvon.
Yeah, I mean, I think at a certain point, when you've played out your guaranteed money, there's been all kinds of issues that, whether perceived or real, it does feel like, as we've talked about, that there's some kind of animosity going on, or at least there had been some animosity going on. And then when you look at the Deron Bland situation, as he's up on a contract year, you've got Stefon Diggs that they've drafted. So, and they traded for, we can't forget that they did trade for another corner as well. It's not like he's necessarily a Diggs replacement, but they are making a lot of moves at the cornerback position.
Look, you can't pay everybody. Normally when we talk about teams saying you can't pay everybody, we're talking about a team that feels like they're obligated to pay everybody because everybody helped them win a championship. Well, Dallas ain't won no championship. So I really feel like this. You can't pay everybody, especially when you ain't won nothing.
Yeah, no, 100%. And you have to, like, there's nothing wrong. So this is where we're going to shift gears, right, a little bit. There's nothing wrong with hedging your bets on your roster. There's, so we talk about the Cincinnati Bengals trying to hedge their bets in Shamar Stewart's contract. That's where I think we disagree with what the Bengals are trying to do.
Absolutely.
With the Dallas Cowboys, look, Diggs is incredibly talented, but he's also not available as much as you would want an incredibly talented cornerback to be. He's not available as much as you probably want a guy you want to pay a guy who probably wants to be paid what he wants to be paid. Hopefully now y'all followed me on that. So the Dallas Cowboys doing this, I have no problem with it whatsoever. And it's a quarterback-driven league. So what do you need to build a successful NFL franchise? You need a passer, you need playmakers, pass protectors, pass defenders, and pass rushers. Those 5 things. You need those 5 things. If you have those 5 things in place, you're going to be good in the National Football League. The Dallas Cowboys have not been great in the National Football League. They've been good. They've been okay in the National Football League. So they have no reason not to go out there and continue to shore up their other positions, whether that hurts Diggs' feelings or not, whether that upsets him or not. Like, they have a responsibility to more than just one player, and they've got to go out there and do with. I mean, Micah Parsons, like, the Cowboys went out and drafted Donovan Ezeraku. Guess what? If Micah Parsons is a free agent next year, guess who's going to replace him, quote unquote, on the depth chart? It's going to be Donovan Ezeraku, right? Like, but that doesn't mean they don't want Micah. It doesn't mean that they don't want to pay Micah. It just means they're doing the smart thing and not saying, well, let's just pretend we live in La La Land and we know for sure everything's going to work out just, hunky dory, and let's make sure that we have a contingency plan in case.
Yeah, there is a big difference. And the difference is when you draft a guy, there's a slot where he gets paid. And it's pretty much, that's why first round picks are easy to get in camp. This ain't like the old days, right?
Usually.
Right. Yeah, right. Usually when it's not the Bengals. There was an issue with Bosa years back Joey Bosa, but that was about offset language. That was about the bonus. They wanted to defer the bonus. There's something about when college guys get drafted that first year, since they were on student status, the year they were drafted, they actually get to claim their home of record, which is Florida. So the kid wanted the taxes, the tax breaks, and the tax incentives to get the money now. If you give it to me later, I can't claim that. So that it's always these little things, but I don't think the Bengals have that issue right now. And I don't think the Cowboys have that issue. The difference is, we were just talking about hedging bets. The thing that made us like both running backs from Ohio State, the year before, one guy got hurt. They told the other guy, come up here, split carriage. You're both going to the league. That's not hedging your bets. And they won. This is the key. This is why I say you got to win. Trayvon Diggs doesn't have a hill to stand on because the Cowboys haven't won. Dallas gets to pick and choose who they pay from this point forward. Michael Parsons should be number one on that list. Ezraku isn't a bet hedger because they need more than one pass rusher. You know that. And then somebody could get hurt. So that's one thing. Speaking of Diggs, this guy up in New England named Stefon. We're expecting big things. I was kind of shocked when they signed him, but I'm not shocked that they have him now. Had a little thing on the boat with this girl Cardi B, and there was some girls and a bag, and now people are speculating about stuff. Well, he came out and said, look, I'm going to keep my personal life personal. David, me and you know this. You want to keep your personal life personal, get rid of the cameras and get rid of the posting everything on social media. So just in case he isn't there, you think New England hedged their bets a little bit because he's been hurt and banged up the last couple of years? They got Kyle Williams, brother. Kyle Williams, a young player in the draft that they believe can help them. But the two they drafted last year weren't very good, but Kyle Williams is. Listen to Nick Cattles talk about the fact that this could be their X receiver. Notice he's saying this. This could be their X receiver because they no telling what Stefon Diggs is going to do because he's been hurt, and then he's dating a celebrity now. Listen to Nick Cattles.
Williams fills an urgent need for this football team. We have spent the last couple of years, we have spent more than the last couple of years talking about needing that X receiver. It goes back to the N'Keal Harry draft. We've been talking about for the past few years. And this team still, until it drafted Kyle Williams, fingers crossed, still needed that X receiver. And maybe, just maybe, he is the guy to finally fill that need. But it's not just X receiver. It's also wide receiver explosivity. The Patriots have not had nearly enough explosivity from that position.
Man, Nick Cattles put that. He nailed that with the way that he broke it down. I would love to hear those words that he beeped out. I've been trying for an hour to figure out what the hell he said that they beeped out there, David. But his point proves our point about Stefon Diggs. The thought that maybe this $20 million receiver ain't going to be the answer, and Nick Cattles is already looking for a rookie to replace him.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Stefon Diggs, the days of being like a franchise cornerstone, a player that you build your offense around, those days are gone. I think those days really left while he was in Buffalo, and when he got traded from Buffalo, it was pretty much a sign that those days in the NFL for him were just over. You know what I mean? That's going to be a role that he's going to have to go out there and accept. And because of that, like, he's not like, because of that fact, because of the fact that you're playing for the New England Patriots, like these things that happened in the offseason can't happen. You know what I mean? Like, those are things that just cannot happen where you're working. As far as like the confidence of Kyle Williams, look, I like Kyle Williams. I thought he was a good prospect, but it's hard to ignore that one of the biggest concerns about him in the NFL is his ability to catch. He's a wide receiver. You know what I mean? Like, hopefully, like I hope those concerns don't come to fruition, and hopefully he has a very long, successful career. I'm like you, Wig. I want every one of these guys to do well, reach their highest potential, and all that stuff. But when I was looking at him, because the Washington Commanders drafted a mid-round wide receiver as well, so Kyle Williams was on my radar. That was the biggest concern, was a wide receiver that is kind of suspect when it comes to catching the football. That's hard to kind of really swallow, but that's why he's a third-round pick, right? Because he's got first-round traits everywhere else. And then the lack of catching, I don't say lack of catching ability, because the dude can obviously catch the football. He wouldn't be in the NFL if he couldn't catch. But from the perspective of catching as a big-time receiver, as an NFL receiver, there's a little bit of concern there. So we'll see. But I think, the 100% truth is the Patriots absolutely have to continue this search for a primary receiver. And until they know they have one, they got to continue looking.
Yep, I agree with you. Drafted 2 last year, neither one of them really panned out, and now they're depending on another 3rd-round rookie. The thing about Diggs is when you talk about him, you're right. I mean, not Diggs, Kyle Williams. You're right. His magic happens on his release before the ball gets there, and then when he runs after the ball gets there. He reminds me of Darnell Mooney in that way. Darnell Mooney got some crazy releases and crazy route running, but then I watched some games, and it's like there are balls that hit him right in the hand that he should catch. Maybe it doesn't happen all the time. Maybe it just happened tonight that I was watching them. I think it was on Sunday Night Football. He just kept dropping these balls after doing all that great route running. All right, Dave, I tell you what, we don't hedge our bets here. Tune in to Locked On NFL, and we tell you to be intentional about choosing where to spend your next listen, and that is Locked On NFL Scouting. Make sure you go over and check out Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino because they'll make you a smarter NFL fan for watching pleasure and for your fantasy needs. Make sure you tap in to Locked On NFL Scouting so you understand who's on your rosters. David, go tackle today, my man. I think we're both going to minicamp to go check out what our team's doing. Check out Dave on Locked On Commanders and me on Locked On Jaguars. Give you the coverage that you deserve here on Locked On Podcast Network. We thank you for spending 31 minutes with us today. We'll see you next time. Take care.